Hey guys, stay tuned to the end of the episode where I'm going to read one of the iTunes reviews for Fascination Street Podcast. If you've left one, it might be yours, and if you haven't, do it, and maybe it will be in the future. I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with actress Kayla Adams. Kayla is a lovely young lady who grew up in Canada and began to act up there, and then moved to Los Angeles to further that career. In this episode, we talk about growing up in Canada and how it's a little bit different than growing up in the United States. We also talk about what got her into acting and some of her more recent projects, including the hit Brad Pitt film Ad Astra that came out last month, the upcoming Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson film Bliss, slated to come out next year. And we also talk about another upcoming film. This one's a horror film called Hex, and her film Rogue Warfare, which is currently in theaters. So enjoy, folks. This is my conversation with Kayla Adams. Yeah, talk to me, yeah. Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Kayla Adams. How are you doing today, Kayla?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I am wonderflonium. Thank you for asking.
Great.
So, are you in California? Am I calling you in California right now?
Yes, I am in Los Angeles right now.
Los Angeles. What's the weather like? Is it 73 and beautiful like always?
It's warmer than that, and yes, it is always beautiful here. I think it's almost 80 today. We had like a heat wave 2 weeks. Yeah, it's almost 80. It's warm.
Oh my gosh, move.
Yeah, no, I love it. I need the heat. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm in San Antonio, and it's about 100 degrees right now.
Wow, okay, that's hot.
That is not part of a heat wave. That is just the regular temperature.
Yeah, that's hot. No thanks.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, you're from Canada, right?
I am the Friends from the North. That is correct.
Sweet.
I'm Canadian.
You people are so nice.
Yes, we are. So are Americans. We're all equal.
Well, that is a lie. So you're off to a terrible, terrible start.
Let's rewind.
So tell me about growing up in, British Columbia?
I grew up in Mission, actually, which is a very small town. It's bigger now, but when I was there, it was a very small town in British Columbia. It's about like a 2.5-hour flight up north from here.
Wait, from Los Angeles?
Yeah, so the flight itself is under 3 hours to get up north. It's above Seattle.
Wow.
As if you're going to Vancouver. Yeah,
oh, okay.
And then we're outside of Vancouver. Yeah, in a small town.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, honestly, I look back versus envisioning like raising a family in this city, and I feel really lucky because we did live out in the boonies. There's a lot of trees and a lot of forest, and it was beautiful. Like, you could hop on your bike and ride around anywhere and like find yourself in this vast field. And I think for a child, it allowed your imagination to run wild because there's just so much to do. So looking back, I'm so grateful to have grown up in like a very small town.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Juxtapose that with 2019 Los Angeles. If a little kid goes for a bike ride, they might never see their parents again.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's an element of that for sure. And it's also like a little bit more of like a concrete jungle here. I mean, of course, not like New York, but it's just different. It's just very different. So I feel extremely grateful. And, we work with what we have. But I think at the time when I was living there, I was like, oh, I just want a big city. And now as an adult, I can value that.
So growing up in Canada, I think that here we say like 8th grade and there y'all say like grade 8.
That's correct.
So after school high, you went to Australia?
I did, yeah. So little caveat there. I went to university after I graduated high school. And at this point, I had already had the acting bug curiosity going. But, I was trying to appease the masses and the family and go to university and become a sociologist. And halfway through the first year, I was like, this is not at all how I want my life to go. So I ended up stepping away from that. I went to Australia for 6 months and traveled with one of my dear friends and got to see the world and see the other side of the world. And that gave me the confidence and like the time to grow up for me to come back and go, you know what, I'm in this, and this acting bug isn't just something that's going away. And then that was what shifted for me to take a step into acting.
So you went to university, but you didn't hang out there very long?
No, sir. Mm-mm.
Well, I'm sure that your wallet appreciates that.
Yeah, and my soul, my creative soul is so thankful.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you didn't have to die inside before you could go out and do what you needed to do.
No, it's true, though. I mean, you got to listen to your heart. You got to listen to where you're being guided to. So I'm really glad I did that.
Well, me too. Why Australia?
You know, I think at the time, I don't know what it was. A lot of my friends were going there. Like, my sister had gone there before me. It kind of felt like this interesting rite of passage. A lot of the people in my group, and like I said, my sister, had gone there post-graduation of high school. So it felt like this weird, like, rite of passage that, like, this is what we had to do. And it's Commonwealth, so it was a lot easier to get a visa to go there. And it's gorgeous. Have you been before?
No. And what does that mean, it's Commonwealth? Does that mean it's part of Canada? Because British Columbia okay.
The
gotcha.
UK, yeah. So England, it's all Commonwealth countries. So it's a little bit easier to get a visa. Mind you, that was many, many years ago, so I'm not sure how that has changed now. But at the time, it was pretty simple. So it seemed like a no-brainer.
And so because it was a Commonwealth, you were allowed to stay there for 6 years on a visa?
Oh, 6 months. No, not years.
Oh, my bad.
6
I'm
months.
so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No,
Man.
That would be a long time.
6 years would have really been something, right?
We would not be talking on the phone right now.
Oh, you'd still be there?
I would probably still be there.
That is hilarious. So what did you do for your 6 months? Did you just party like a rock
I traveled a little bit. Yeah, like I was younger, so it was legal. We were all the legal drinking age, but we just traveled the coastline. So up from Sydney to Cairns, which is up north, and soaked it up. You know, where I'm from, we didn't have the hot sun, the sandy beaches, like the big waves of the ocean. So just being in that energy was life-changing for me at the time. It was amazing. I just soaked every minute up of it as possible. It was great.
Very cool. Now, were you terrified about all of the things on that island that will kill you, which apparently is everything?
I was not. No, I was really brave. That didn't even make me think twice. Not at all.
Wow, what a big girl. I'm terrified. Yeah,
well, I also heard that one of the most deadliest creatures in the ocean there was like the size of a peanut, the jellyfish or something. I was like, well, how's that going to work? You can't see it. So you just got to throw caution to the wind.
You're making me even more terrified.
Oh, you might have to just stay where you are then.
I might. I think even the koala bears have chlamydia over there. Like, that's terrifying.
That's a horrible lie. I hugged a koala bear.
Uh-oh.
They're amazing, but wait, they can be vicious. They do have sharp claws. They are animals, so disclaimer there.
Wow, so you hugged a koala? We might need to call Dr. Drew.
Oh, dear. I don't think so. I can guarantee you we're good to go.
So you said that you, in high school, I guess, or, prior to university, you had already been bitten by the acting bug. When do you think that happened? And can you pinpoint it? Like, was it a TV show or a movie or a moment?
I know exactly when it happened. No. So this is interesting because a lot of my friends are like, yes, when I did this play or my school had this theater.
I'm going to pause you. You said this is interesting. We use the word fascinating on this here program.
Oh, I love that.
It's called Fascination Street, not Interesting Street.
I got you. Okay.
And action.
This is actually really fascinating because a lot of my artist friends, their backstory is, their school had a really great theater, and it was when they saw this play or they did this play in grade whatever that really stirred it for them. My high school did not have a theater where we performed plays, so that wasn't an option. And oddly enough, and I have a journal to prove this, when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, I would journal all the time, and I would write in there that I just wanted to be an actress and I wanted to live near the sun. I had it already in my head that I was going to live in Los Angeles or Miami because that's all I knew, that sun was there in the States. That's all I knew at such a young age. So nothing really stirred it in me other than like there was this deep knowingness from literally the youngest age that this was what I was meant to do.
And what did your family think about that? I mean, I know they wanted you to be a sociologist, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
But what did your parents think about your desire to be in this business?
I think, like most parents, when their child says they want to be an artist, it instills a grotesque amount of fear because you think, how are you going to survive? And it seems to be one of the most hardest business, or at least in society, it's told that it is one of the most hardest businesses to be involved in. So, it was a little bit of a challenge. There was a tiny bit of pushback, but as I persevered and didn't stop, they understood that this was more than just a hobby for me and just some sort of itch I needed to scratch. So now I have not now, it's been a while now. I have full support, and it's actually really exciting to see my mom get excited with me over things, even auditions. She likes to marinate in the what if with me, which is really fun. So it's cool to share that experience together.
Nice. So I'm assuming it was after Australia that you decided to return back to the Couve and go to film school?
That's correct. Yeah, I went to Vancouver Film School, and that was my first foundation into acting. We did voice work and movement, script analysis. We put on a play. It was really, really awesome. I'm so glad I went there.
Now, this is going to show me for the fool that I am. Everybody that I've ever talked to that went to Vancouver Film School, it was to be a director or an editor or a producer or something like that. And so I didn't even know that they had acting classes there.
Yeah, they do. Well, it's 2 different campuses. So, very much understandable that you'd think that way. So there is the editing department, the directing, the whole, behind the camera line. But the campus I was at was all for acting, and it was really great. I actually had seen a couple of my teachers, I think the last few years on TV, which was really cool because it's been, more than a decade now. So it's a great space. It's a good space to get your feet wet for sure.
Nice. So how long is that program? How long were you there?
That one I think was just shy of a year. I believe it was 8 months. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And do you feel like you got a lot out of it?
I think I got a solid foundation, and then it was the beginning of the training for me. So, as an actor, unless you're consistently on a show or away on film, even when you are away, we bounce in and out of classes all the time. Even now I'm in a class, and I always will be until it's to a point where, schedule and your career won't allow for it, because it's muscle. So it's a wonderful place to be able to go to every week to flex your artistic muscle. And if you're lucky enough to find a safe space to do it, you can just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper into your own self, into your own work, which, only helps your acting and your craft.
You don't have to tell me. I saw Barry.
That's a interesting show. It's not all like that. Show. It's not all like that. I'll tell you that. There are probably classes similar to that style, but everyone's different. Everyone learns differently.
So a lot of the times when I'm talking to someone who went to film school, they talk about some of the things that the program lacked. Not like in a bad way, not like they're mad or anything, but I get the impression that film school doesn't really focus on how to get an agent, how to tell if an agent's or a scammer, how to manage your money, since, you work a lot less of the year than, a normal job would.
Yeah, exactly.
Did your film school cover any of that kind of stuff?
No, it didn't. And again, that was a long time ago, so perhaps it's changed. I think it's a touchy subject for your quote teacher or professional to touch on, because there's so many factors as to why you might not be getting rep versus why someone is. And it could have nothing to do with you. Maybe your type's really popular right now. Maybe it's not. Maybe, you have a belief system that you don't believe it. And that's like inner work. That's the deep work. So a lot of it's trial and error. But I do think that what you could benefit from is, yes, keep the element of play because we have to have that. But at the same time, we need to know what we're walking into. It is a long, arduous journey, and to be ready to sign up for that. Because, they say when everyone comes here, the cream rises to the crop. Most people just leave. It's not like how you get to LA, it's how long you can stay here. So I think just focusing on like the importance of the longevity, if that's something you choose to do. And of course you can change your mind. But that feels like that would be right for schools to lean into a bit more.
Well, I think that is an excellent summation of what may or may not be going on there now.
Right. We will find out somehow.
Someday. And, to be fair to film schools, regular schools don't teach any of that stuff either,
Totally.
I was just having a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking about probably the biggest thing lacking in the American school system is teaching people how to budget and how to manage their money.
And wouldn't that be lovely if they had a course on that? That would be genius if they could do that. Like, here's how you do your taxes. This is what a general spreadsheet of a budget could look like. I'm with you on that 100%.
Yeah. And this is what, if you don't buy that ice cream right now, this is what that money will look like in 10 years.
Exactly. Yes. I love that you said that. That's so great.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I don't know how it is in Canada. I don't know if they teach that. But like in America, a kid graduates from high school and they're 18 and then now they're on their own. And before that, for their entire lives, their parents paid for everything and handled all the expenses and all the budgeting and everything. Mm-hmm. And so at 18, they're, quote, an adult. They go out and get a job and then they get this paycheck that they've never had before and all this money that they've never needed before. And then they have all these expenses that they've never had before. So I think that it's sort of exactly like a pro athlete. Because, you hear all the time,
yes.
Oh, this, poor kid from this area, he got a $10 million contract and a month later he's broke or whatever.
You're right.
But it's the same thing with all kids because, they weren't used to it. And then now they have all this responsibility and money and stuff. So I really think that that's probably the biggest flaw in the school system in this country.
Yeah. And you're not given the tools, like you said, and then it's up to you to seek out those tools, whether you have a mentor or a family member or a book, go to the library, read about it, Google, but that takes a special something in you too, to be like, hey, I don't know how to do this. And I really think I should try. And not everyone has that, motivation. It's tough. I think you really hit the nail on the head with that.
Well, I think, besides motivation, people, a lot of talk about not having access. I mean, the people in the poorer communities, they don't know anybody who is successful with money.
Exactly.
That's a real have not sort of a situation there. The people who are rich know how to handle money, so they kind of pass that info down. And then the people who aren't never had it, so they don't know how to pass it down.
Yeah, it needs to be in the education system.
Did I mention this is a comedy podcast?
No, but I like this anyway. This is important.
This is important stuff, folks.
This is a public announcement.
That's right. Oh, I love it.
That was funny. There we go. We're back on track.
There you go. So then you transitioned into commercial work. Now, I know that commercials don't pay now like they used to unless you're Flo.
Yeah.
But what was that experience like, and do you still go out for commercials?
Yeah, I do. I have a lovely commercial agent in Los Angeles that I love. And I do go out. It was awesome in Canada. You're right. It's not the same as it used to be, but it's still, it can be a fun day on set and you get a good, decent rate. So there's nothing to kind of balk about there, but it was cool. My very first audition in Canada, actually, for my commercial, I booked. So I felt really excited about that.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really cool. I think it was for one of those Sealy Serta mattress companies. But the commercial was really funny. It was cool to play. That was really fun. And yeah, it can kind of be a little bit of a day job, if you are lucky enough to book, a handful of them a year or even a few less than that. So I'm all for them. Absolutely.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
So I mean, I'm sure that it's different, like we said, than before, but do they even still pay residuals on commercial work?
I think that's where it gets tricky because of the whole new media thing. And, the SAG keeps negotiating contracts. And unfortunately, we're losing a lot of commercials to non-union because a lot of things are new media. It's the commercials you see on your phone, whether you're on Instagram, you see an ad or wherever the ads pop up on your phone. So the residual base has gone down a lot because residuals used to just be based off of mostly like what you'd see on television and that national network. It's tricky. They have their work cut out for them for sure on how they negotiate that as we move forward.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about when you made the big leap and you got your first television role.
Yes. That was actually about actors, ironically enough. That was really cool. It was the Actress Diaries. I got to play a snarky little actress in the waiting room or in the audition room with the lead girl who was also an actress. And the series is actually doing really good. It's still going in Canada, and it was really fun. Sometimes it's like, silly to play an actor in a show as an actor, but it was fun. It's like that shadow self you get to kind of explore a bit. So that was cool.
So I have talked to a few actors who have, started an acting career in another country and then came here. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be some difficulties in sort of transitioning from that other market to this market or from that agent group to this agent group or whatever. Did you notice any hurdles or any difficulty, coming to America and becoming part of this Hollywood scene?
Absolutely. I feel like if it was easy, then, Canada would be taking over LA right now. It's super hard, not even just career-wise, legally too. It can be a struggle to just get a visa half the time, in time for a job if you have a job lined up. But I think there's this stigma around, you have to have X amount of credits and this on your resume before you make the big jump to LA. And I don't buy into the collective thinking. I work really hard to create my own thought process and my own path that way. And I totally ran up into a lot of obstacles, even just navigating whether or not I wanted to keep the Canadian agent for a while and trying to fly up and down for auditions same day was insane. I think my biggest mistake or thing I wish I could have, I don't want to say I wish I could have changed, but something that, I have a little remorse for is me trying to make it work so hard in both cities when energetically it's not going to work. You have to pick a place. And if it's the place you're in, then give it your all. I was spreading myself too thin. So I ended up getting rid of my entire team actually in LA and Canada, which any actor will understand as to be terrifying because now you're quote unrepresented and all the story that comes along with that. But I needed it. I needed to have that happen so I could grow myself and grow my art so the team that I really wanted could mirror how I felt about myself as an adult in LA. So, like I said, I went about a year without it. And then this year, everything just started falling into place. Actually, the beginning of this year, I got my manager, I got my agent, my Canadian agent, and my new commercial down here. And it's been great. It's been really good. I'm very thankful.
Very cool. So how long was it once you got down here before you got your first audition or your first thing clicked?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think I did the whole self-submission route. So I was going to USC when I first got here. I was just trying to hustle. I was going to USC. I was going up to the UCLA film, any student film I could get in for. I was reading and getting in for, and I ended up doing a short that was actually really fun and got some cute footage out of it. But that happened pretty quickly because that's just different. You can self-submit to that stuff. But for me to actually get a proper audition, oh man, I think I was at least a year. I think I was grinding away for a year. It was very discouraging at times.
And so, feel free to not answer any of the questions you don't want to, but how were you making money during that year?
Well, okay, I used to work in production. So I worked for many years with Disney and Universal and Fox. So that's good money, and that's a regular paycheck. So I saved a lot of money. I didn't have a side job at the time. I just used my savings, which in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have spent all of my money, but that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to dive right in. So I worked my butt off and then used my savings.
I think that's really, really wise.
Yeah.
That way you could really focus during that year on, the dream, as opposed to, you have to bartend here and then you have to go rush to an audition and then you got to get back before your shift starts or whatever. And I think that's really cool because it gave you that sort of peace of mind, that clarity that you could just really zero in and focus on the job.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So back in the 90s, I think, late 90s, early 2000s, early aughts, there was a TV show called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Yeah.
You were not on that show.
I probably was very, very young at that time.
Me too. But it's okay that you weren't on that show because the people who were on that show were nobodies at the time. But then later, you got to work with one of the dudes from that show.
I did.
His name is Ryan Reynolds, and you were in Deadpool, which I don't know how it was on the inside, and maybe you can shed some light on that.
Yeah.
But it was the talk of the town, well, of the country when it was coming out, because at the time, it was the first comic book film, I believe, that was rated R. Yes,
you're right. Yeah, they were groundbreaking.
Was that a topic on set?
Absolutely. I think that was what set some of the writers apart. That's what made them different, because you could change the dialogue to fit a rated R, and it worked so seamlessly. It was so well done. Yeah, the writers, Paul and Rhett, they're amazing. They were such a pleasure to work for. I hadn't actually worked on a comedy, and that was actually one of the shows I also did production on too back in the day. So being on a comedic set was so awesome. You're just laughing all day long, and Ryan is a genius. He's hilarious. He's so funny. So it's really cool to be in a light energy environment. It was a very, very fun time. And Vancouver was up in arms about it, good and bad. I mean, of course, they loved our Canadian star filming there, but we were shutting down streets and bridges and really messing up with the traffic, which I thought was amusing at the time, but I'm sure the locals were getting a little bit irritated. But it was worth it because look at what the movie did. It was outstanding.
Yeah, it did. It broke records.
Yeah, it did.
So can you tell me a little bit about working with, Ryan and maybe Marina Bakarin? I don't know. Did you have any scenes with Marina?
I did not. No, I just worked with Ryan, but she was really nice. I mean, I off the set, she was really nice. Ryan was great. I really appreciated Ryan, his just graciousness. He was just so kind. He was so kind to everybody. He wasn't difficult to work with. He was very, very nice. And I liked being able to be a little fly on the wall and kind of watch some of his process and just see some of the actor traits that he does when he's about to start a scene. And it felt really cool because I was like, oh, he does that too. Oh, he's doing this too. And that's what I did. And that's a relaxation thing that we learned. And it was really cool to see somebody at such a high level, still be about the work and whatever he needs to do to prep himself to get into that moment. I thought that was awesome.
You know why he was so nice and awesome, right?
Oh, I'm just going to take a wild guess. Is it because he lives in the country with trees and maple syrup coming out of them?
He doesn't live in Vermont, you weirdo.
We have maple trees in Canada.
Yes. It's because he's a Canadian. I know it's stereotype. Yeah. It's probably even a little bit racist, but there you go.
Hey, you're the one saying it.
So I want to talk about you and your, I guess, love of the outdoors. Are you a surfer? You mentioned giant waves in Australia.
I'm a new surfer, so I paddleboard. I paddleboard a lot, which involves not a lot of waves. But I did learn how to surf when I was in Hawaii a couple Christmases ago, and it was amazing. It was so amazing. So I have no excuse not to do it more out here. I just like to go paddleboarding because it's super calm, and when the water's really, really like quiet and glassy, there's something like very kind of soothing about that, you know, whereas like waves, you got to be ready to get your butt kicked. So it's two different energies.
So one is like super high energy, like on the balls of your feet, ready to go. And the other one is just like relaxing and chilling.
Very much. Yep. Couldn't have said it better than you.
Feel like you did said it better than me.
Okay, fine.
How dare you? So I guess that acting is not the extent of what you want to do in this business. You also want to do some things behind the camera, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've already written and produced 2 shorts, produced a 3rd, and right now I'm in development for a script actually on the World War II about my grandfather. It's a true story about a rear gunner in the Royal Canadian Air Force. So I'm going to produce that, and then I'm not writing it. I have a team. Actually, we're developing it this week. We're having meetings about it as we speak this week.
Does everybody in it have to have a Canadian accent?
No, he will not sound Canadian. He's going to have a standard, regular American accent. It doesn't sound that different. Do I sound Canadian to you, or do I sound American?
You said a boot like 9,000 times already.
I cannot wait to listen to this and have another conversation on how I did not say that. There was one word that I did say. I caught myself in my head, but I can't remember what it was. There was one. It slipped out.
There was one. I did catch it too, but I let it go.
You'll have to tag it at the end of this. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really cool that Ryan Reynolds doesn't need to have a Canadian accent to play your grandfather.
Oh, yeah. We should make a phone call. Hey, Ryan, what are you doing next year?
I mean, it would be perfect, right? Because your grandfather was a pilot. I mean, he was an aviator, right? I mean, he wasn't a pilot, but he was a gunner, right, in a plane. And
yeah.
Doesn't Ryan have his own gin called Aviator or Aviation or something like that? Mm-hmm.
Oh, you might be onto something. But
See,
as
we're
for
talking
me,
about
this question,
sponsorships and everything.
How do we make Ryan play a 25-year-old male, though? We could get makeup for that.
Doesn't he always look 25?
You know what? You can't argue that.
I mean, that dude doesn't look like he's aged at all since he started this business.
You're actually right.
That's why we all hate him.
Oh, poor Ryan.
Oh, yeah, that poor guy.
Yeah. Oh, poor him.
Poor
Not
dude.
at all.
Maybe one of these days he can catch a break.
Yeah, right? Tough.
Well, I'll reach out and see if I can't get him to star in
that'd
it,
be great.
and then also executive produce it, and then throw
Perfect.
some aviation gin money at it.
Well, we'll figure that one out later, but I like that idea.
We'll take care of this. He did it. He wasn't in it, but his wife was in it. It was a Paul Feig film called A Simple Favor. Did you see that last year?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it yet, actually.
His wife...
Blake Lively.
Yeah, her. Thank you. His wife, Blake Lively, through the entire movie, she's drinking his gin.
That's pretty funny.
Like in every scene.
Good.
There's even a scene where she teaches Anna Kendrick how to make the perfect martini, and she's using his gin to do it. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
That's a power couple right there. That
Correct.
is a power move. I like it.
That's right. Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick is the power couple.
No, Ryan.
Oh,
Ryan and
gotcha.
Blake. That's smart. He put his stuff in her work. I like it.
Very cool. Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat.
Good.
So I want to talk about your other 2 short films that you wrote and produced. Now, I understand what writing means. I get that part. But There does not seem to be a consensus on what a producer is and or does. Can you talk about what you did in your role as producer of these short films?
Yeah, I mean, there's different kinds of producers. I think that's probably why it gets like a little complicated. So sometimes one's just the creative, one's the line producer, so he's dealing with the money, or he or she is dealing with the money or the budget. But for me, the first one, and I'll use that as my learning curve, I was both. I was the creative and the line producer, which is not the wisest move because it's one or the other. And again, it was a learning curve for me. So I dealt with the budget and got our crew together, dealt with dates, make sure we finished on time each day, and like, what did we miss? What do we still need to do? What needs to be reshot? So that was a lot. And then trying to stay creative too. It's two different parts of your brain working. So my advice to myself is to pick one of those sides and just be one of those and put that hat on. The second one, I just was the creative producer on. So that was great. I just got to be a part of the creative aspect. That was a lot easier in that way. And it was very short. It was just actually two of us in the scene or in the short film. So that was easy to manage. And this next one, I'll probably just be a creative producer on that. And then work with someone who's really good with bigger budgets, because the war movie will be a bigger budget.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully any movie would be a bigger budget than a short, right?
I would hope so. But I have seen shorts that were $90,000. So
what?
That could get you a small film. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. People do it.
Wow. So now, forgive this, and I don't mean this to sound rude or disrespectful in any way, but yeah, what is the point of a short film? Why make it? There's not a place to see them.
Okay, it's not rude at all. No, totally. Well, there's film festivals, there's the HBO shorts, there's different avenues, like there's different networks will have just shorts online streaming. So for me, it was a place to get my filmmaking skills down. I think it's really important, at least in my opinion, as an actor to understand and have some sort of a grasp on what goes into filming. It helps you not take everything so personally, and it helps you just have a little bit more understanding of the process. It's a big, well-oiled machine if it's well-oiled. So for me, that was part of it. And a lot of people, especially the ones that have, very, very big budgets, will use it as a calling card when they transition out of one kind of department into the next. So I have a lot of friends that want to be directors. So they'll say if they're an actor or a writer, then they'll do this, create this short, but then they'll direct it and they'll put a bunch of money in it, make it look really good so they can use that as like their calling card to the business, to the industry. So there's just a couple of different reasons that I've come across. And also you can't forget, like, if you love making movies and art, like I do it because I love it. I love writing. I love seeing something from conception to the final product on screen. Like I get excited about the organization, the process, then letting it all unfold. The problem solving that goes into making a movie is never ending. I love that. So I do it for the joy of it.
Nice. Now let's talk about some things that the people listening can see you in shortly or now. Yeah. The number 2 movie in America right now is Ad Astra with Brad something.
Yes.
I don't remember Brad, whatever it is.
I think I can't. It might be Pitt, but I'm not sure.
Yes. Bradford Potts. That's right.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Brad's
Just
amazing.
kidding, Mr. Pitt. So what was that movie like? Oh, and I will tell you, hopefully you didn't have any scenes with the guy who played his dad, Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones?
You didn't, right? No scenes with that guy?
No. Why?
Okay, good. He lives here in San Antonio, and
yeah,
I have had the opportunity to meet him, and hopefully he's different on set, but out in the world, he is not a nice guy. So.
Oh, no, really?
Well,
oh, darn. Yeah, I never met him.
Well, good for you, since that means that he won't color your experience. So hopefully I didn't just now make up your own mind when you run into him.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I get it. It happens.
So tell me about Ad Astra. What do we need to know?
Oh, it's so lovely. You know what? it's like an art house movie captured in a studio film. It is a deep dive my perspective is it's a deep dive into not only space, but into self-awareness and our relationships that we have with our family, with our parents. In this situation, it's with Brad and his dad. And the big questions about like where that lives in your body, or in your mind, how that shapes who you are today. And I think it's really important because he's so vulnerable in it and speaks from the heart. The character speaks so deeply from the heart. And I think to see that and to watch him process, his feelings and that mask of masculinity and like let that come off, I think is super important. And for men too, to be able to see this, because it's nice to go to a film where you can see something that you're expecting to be this like big space, crazy, like out there thing. And it's so honed in and so intimate on such a heart level that it's really profound. And I think it's incredibly brave of James, the director, to put something out like this, because it's what humanity needs to see. Like we got to shift the consciousness. And I think that this is an incredibly important story to share.
Well, that is super exciting. The director, folks, is James Gray.
Yes.
So Donald Sutherland is also in this film. Did you get to work with him?
I did. He is also Canadian. We had a conversation about that on set.
This is going to, again, make me sound so stupid. I've known my entire life that Kiefer Sutherland was Canadian, but never once did it occur to me that his father was.
Maybe you should take that out. Totally kidding.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm leaving all that in.
You should. It's good stuff.
So what was it like working with that Hollywood legend?
Oh, man, it was lovely. He is just so sweet. He's so sweet. He was showing me pictures of his house up in Eastern Canada, and it was just so lovely. It was a really intimate scene between him and Brad, but it was awesome to be a part of it and watch them work together too, and then have me interact with them and then just have them, call cut, and then we're just sitting in the spaceship while they're setting up the next shot, and I'm just talking with Donald and Brad. I'm like, wow, it's crazy. Like when I actually think about it, I'm like, it's amazing. I feel really fortunate, really, really fortunate to have had that experience.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
So then also, you recently got to work with another pair of Hollywood icons, Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Tell me about Bliss.
Oh, man, that was so fun. So Owen was in the scene, but he was like not in my scene. But I, again, like met him on set. Lovely human being. But my scene was with Selma. She's amazing. She's so fun and so giving as an artist. And the director, Mike, was great. He let us play. There was such a big sense of play in the room, and it just felt really good. It feels good to have yourself be in a situation where you're working with people that I've watched growing up as a kid. I've watched Salma and Owen, he's like a high school icon when I was younger. So it's just really cool to be there and then also feel like you have a seat at the table with them. I think that's really important to keep everybody equal, because we're all here to serve the story. It was great. I can't wait for that movie to come out. Actually, I think it's going to be really cool.
When is it coming out? Do you know?
It doesn't say yet, but usually things sit in post for about a year. So maybe next year, unless they move fast, because it's Amazon. So it could be next year sometime.
All right, cool. Everybody keep a lookout for Bliss, starring Salma Hayek, Owen Wilson, Kayla Adams,
yes,
written and directed by Mike Cahill.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about a horror film.
Oh, boy.
Ooh.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about Hex, and what the heck is a lead skydiver?
Yeah, that was, oh, man, I can't wait for that to come out. That should actually be coming out the end of this year, unless they push, as these things do happen. This is actually a very unique film. It's about a group of skydivers that are going through a Hex skydive, and all of the horror that comes after that. And first of all, it was just fascinating to be on a skydiving sky zone for the whole shoot. I was scared of jumping out of planes. I still haven't done it yet, but I will. But just being around people who are going up and down in planes all day long was so cool, and it really helped give like the energy and the flavor that this character needed, because this was her life, you know, skydiving was her life. And then being in a horror movie is terrifying, because I didn't realize this. So you're spending 12 hours a day like being spooked and scared. Like you're keeping yourself in that fight or flight state of being. So as we wrap, it was exhausting. It was so tiring just coming home. I was done at the end of every single shoot day. It was so much fun.
So what is a hex dive?
So it's a group formation skydive. So I don't know if you've ever like watched any cool like skydiving stuff, but like a lot of people will do group formations in the sky, and this one involves movement. So there was a lot of like moving parts to it, and you know, once you perform it, now you're all cursed. So
okay.
Everyone starts to go missing, or something bad happens to them one by one. And my character is trying to find out what the heck is going on, because she's typically a solo skydiver. So this was her first group formation, and then all this bad stuff comes to fruition. And, you know, she's wondering, am I the one who's cursed here? So it's really cool. We had a blast shooting it, and the skydiving looks incredible. I cannot wait for you guys to see it. It's going to be wicked.
Well, that is super unfortunate for that poor young lady. That was her very first
really
group
is.
skydive. That's terrible.
And it got worse after that. So she didn't have a good time, needless to say. It was not a great experience for that character.
Now, I want to talk about Rogue Warfare, but first I want to say that what the synopsis of that film that I read can't be true. So this is what I read. It says that you play a traumatized Middle Eastern mother whose entire family is wiped out in a terror attack that also kills you. That can't be true. You can't play it. Wait, are you playing a dead person in this movie?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm Lebanese. So I am Middle Eastern, and I feel like all of that is fairly accurate. Now, what about that do you think is not true?
That you play somebody who was wiped out. It says that this attack also took your life.
Yeah, I die in it.
As a result of the attack? So like you die later from you bled out at the end of the movie?
No, she doesn't run. Oh, she's not the lead. The lead's a guy. The lead is the terrorist.
Nice.
No, not nice.
Well, yeah, good point. Not one of those friendly terrorists that you hear about. Those are probably Canadian. A Canadian terrorist sounds like somebody who would just like grab a stop sign and then cover it with a yarn koozie and then put it back. Oh my gosh.
And hand out Tim Hortons donuts and coffee.
I'm pretty sure we call them T-hos.
Really? Okay, I got you.
Yeah, we just call them T-hos.
That's funny.
So tell me about this Rogue Warfare. When's it coming out and where is it coming out?
Yeah, October 4th. It's going to be released in theaters.
Oh, wow.
I think it might be Yeah. Mm-hmm. It might be select theaters, so it might have to be one of like the more indie style places, but it's going to be in theaters. It's with Highland Film Group that did a bunch of good stuff, and I think their last film was Braven with Jason Momoa. This was really important to me. As I did mention before, I am Lebanese. So when I work on or entertain playing a Middle Eastern character because of my heritage, I think it's really important to make the decision for me to play someone with that doesn't add into the typical terrorist stereotype. I think we've just had enough of that out there. So why I really love this role was I got to bring a lot of compassion and show the other side of what happens to people who are in these villages who aren't the quote bad or good people. They're just here. They're just a part of a war-torn country. And the quote terrorism happens in their own home too. It's not just U.S. versus the Middle East or what have you, or the Middle East versus this country. It's happening on their own backyard and it's unwanted. So I got to play the mother who, yeah, you're right. They come in and they do what they do, and she pleads for something to be different. And I thought that that was really important to shine a light on that, because we need to have compassion for everybody. Like, we're all in this life just trying to figure it out, you know? So to be able to play someone who might be typically, like, you know, looked at differently and have compassion for now, it felt really good to do that.
It sounds like your role was very earnest at times. What was that like to be able to summon up that sort of an energy, a pleading desperation, if you will?
Yeah, I have an amazing mentor and coach that I work with that works with me on all of my big projects and you know, auditions too. And we worked a lot on it. And it's just about, you know, look, you can look around and you can pull on the energy in the world right now. There's a lot of sadness and darkness that's going on, even in America, you know. So just, if you just pull on that and expand on it and find where it lives in your body, what makes it personal to you. I mean, she's a mother. I don't have children, but what would it be like to have someone that feels like a child, or like even a younger sister energy or something, be taken away from you, where like you are their protector. So just working on that and playing with it and discoveries and letting that breathe and like sit in you was really important. It was a really hard day. And I think that night I came home, I felt so, I don't want to say like delirious, but like kind of, yeah, like my brain was like fried. And it's because physically your body goes through what you think is watching someone you love die. So it's a lot to give, and it's extremely rewarding, because that's what translates to the audience. You know, that's how you get across to the audience, is giving everything you can so they can feel with you. And it's really healing to do that. And that's part of my obsession and love for this craft.
Nice. And this is the film that you said comes out October 4th?
Yeah. So please go see it, support. It's actually a trilogy. I'm in the first one, so you can't miss me.
Nice. So everybody go check out Rogue Warfare in theaters right now. So, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media, Kayla?
Yeah, you can. I'm most active on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram, and it's at Kayla Adams Life. And I'm also on Twitter at Sugar Cane, and Cane is Kayne. It's very smart, Kayla. And then Facebook at Kayla Adams.
Gotcha. Now, Kayla, as we're winding up, is there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about?
No, you were fantastic. Thank you. You asked all the questions and then some.
Oh, you made it easy because you're fantastic.
Why, thank you.
Well, I wouldn't take too much credit. You had nothing to do with it. It's all because you're Canadian.
Exactly.
That Canadian upbringing, and it's in the water up there.
It is. We should bottle it and sell it. That's what we should do.
Yeah, that's what y'all should do.
Great. I'm going to copyright that so someone can take that idea.
Nice. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Kayla Adams, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your busy schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street.
Absolutely. This was so fun. Thank you, Steve.
You are most welcome. And if you're ever in or near Austin or San Antonio or something, give me a call. We'll have coffee.
I would love that.
I'll bring my wife.
Oh, great. That sounds really fun. We'll have iced coffee because, according to you, it's hot all the time.
Well, no, there's like 4 days in January where it's not 100.
Is it 99?
No. It actually freezes like 1 day a year.
Oh, wow. I learned something new today. Fantastic.
Yes. It freezes in the desert. All right. Well, again, thank you, Kayla, so much. And you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Now go out there and catch a big old wave of
Great.
Calm and peacefulness.
Oh, perfect. That sounds exactly like me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, Kayla.
Bye-bye.
This is an iTunes review for Fascination Street Podcast. This one is from Carly Cat 11. It says, "Fascinating indeed!" ! always on the lookout for a great new podcast to become addicted to. I'm so glad to have stumbled across this one! Exclamation point. Steve is a great interviewer who is able to get beyond just skimming the surface, but able to delve deeper to the hearts of many of his guests. This podcast is definitely worthy of a subscribe! Exclamation point. Thanks, Carly Cat 11. I appreciate that. That was a 5-star iTunes review for Fascination Street Podcast. Rate and review Fascination Street Podcast on iTunes, and maybe next week I'll read your review. As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. For the next 3 months, everybody who rates and reviews the show and sends a screenshot to fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com will get a free surprise gift mailed to them. Every single one of you. So do it. Thanks, Streetwalkers. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.